The Pope and Young Club wants to welcome you as we rally together to ensure our bow hunting opportunities for today and tomorrow. You've come to the podcast that believes in preserving, protecting, and promoting the passion for bow hunting. Join us as we strive to be the voice of today's bow hunter. This is the Pope and Young Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pope and Young Podcast. This is Jason Roundsville, joined as always by my co-host Dylan Ray. And we have with us special guests, longtime supporters of the Pope and Young Club. We have Steve and Denise Perrins with us today. Welcome.
Hey, good to be here.
And for anyone who might not know, they run the Rainy Pass Lodge up in Alaska, which is, I know I first met them. Oh gosh, it's been going on 5 years ago now. And Jack Frost introduced us. I believe it was at Dallas Safari Club. And when Jack Frost gives the review that he gave when I first met you guys, you that's just something you don't second guess. And everything that I've heard since then has reinforced exactly what he said, which was amazing. So want to just welcome you and thanks for being here. So
always good to be here. And Jack's been a good friend and also a very good promoter for us getting into the archery field in our hunting business. And it's been a good education for us and a good partnership all around. Appreciate what you're doing.
You bet. Now, just Steve, do this for everybody. Just tell us a little about Rainy Pass Lodge. And from what I understand, you're the longest running lodge in Alaska. Do I have that right?
Yeah, actually, Rainy Pass Lodge is the oldest hunting and recreation lodge in the state of Alaska. It was founded in 1937, and it was commemorated in 2012 by the state of Alaska legislature as the oldest hunting lodge in Alaska and its 75th anniversary back then. So we're going on 86 years as a hunting and recreation lodge now in the state. We were fortunate to start with the original owners, which was founded by Bud Branham. And I started working with his son, Mike Branham, training me as a guide, and met Mike in the fall of 1976, right after I got into Alaska, and started my training in Yakutat on brown bears with Mike. And in fact, Mike Branham came back to the lodge this last fall with his wife, Betsy, for the first time in over 40 years that he'd been there.
Wow.
They sold the lodge around just a couple of years after I came on the scene, and someone else owned it for 25 years. And then we picked it up in 2003. And so we're over 20 years now ourselves. So kind of a neat family reunion with the original owner's son, at Rainy Pass this last fall.
And I know you have a variety of things that you guys do at the lodge. You have obviously hunting trips. I mean, world-class hunting trips. Also youth camps, summer excursions. What other kinds of things are you doing up there?
Winter has become a growing business, double-digit growth in Alaska for winter tourism. So we are now, of course, the famous dog sled race, the Iditarod, goes through our front yard the first week of March every year. The Iron Dog race, which is the longest, toughest snow machine race in the world, goes through Rainy Pass in February each year, and they're training through there right now. There's also an ultra sport race that people come through on bicycles and skis and on foot in February for the tough, hardy soul folks. And summer business is growing. We're doing pack trips now. We just started a new youth pack trip for kids 14 to 18 to do a 10-day excursion through the Alaska Range and learn how to, deal with horses and packing and winter and summer camping and wildlife viewing, etc. as well as our summer trips that we do on horseback. And then we bring a helicopter in and take people up into seeing the glaciers and bear viewing and other things. So, with the economy the way it is, we've really had to diversify our business into other seasonal activities, and it's working well.
Wow,
Our youth
excellent.
camp, our youth camp is great because we actually are teaching archery there now with the youth camp, as well as firearm safety and things like that to disadvantaged youth. And as you know, through archery in the schools and other programs, it's just a great therapy for young boys and girls today.
Absolutely.
What's funny, Jason, is when you talk to other outfitters and you talk about Pope and Young, and they're like, well, who do you work with or what do you do? And you mention Steve Perrins and Rainy Pass Lodge, and they're like, dude, that's the gold standard in outfitters. Like, yeah, 100%. Like if Steve's in, we're in. It's almost that type of mentality. Like, and so it doesn't take long talking to other outfitters to realize that Steve comes highly respected in the outfitting world.
Yes.
Thanks so much, you guys. I think a big key to that is we just love what we're doing. It's a family business, and when you love what you're doing, you don't go to work.
Well, that although in your defense, technically, you still have to hop on an airplane to get to work.
Yeah, we do. It's just a long trek.
So, I want to talk about the hunting because you have so many different species that you get to chase up there. For a lot of folks, if you're in the Midwest, you're kind of whitetails or bust. Some of the other areas have a few more options with bears and whatnot, but up there you have, let's see, brown bears, black bears, and then I think you're both sides of the line. So you also have grizzlies. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, we're one of the few places that technically we have grizzlies and brown bears. The Fish and Game categorizes them all out, but the record book doesn't. And we've got a couple places that technically those bears are shot as a grizzly, as well as over the line the other direction they're a brown bear. So a person could, in the right area, kill both a grizzly and a brown bear on the same hunt.
Wow,
that's cool.
And then you have caribou, Dall sheep, Yukon moose. Not that there's not enough there, but is there anything we're missing?
We do have wolf and wolverine that are, a happenstance, an opportunity hunt, but we do have both of those. But the main 5 species, and then adding grizzly to it, are one of the unique places where you can get all 5 animals in the same, locale.
Wow. That's now what would you say is your, if you had a specialty, what would your specialty be?
I'd say our biggest draw lately is our big moose. We've been very fortunate with a good gene pool of excellent moose, and we kind of hold everybody at a 60-inch or larger spread minimum. So the state allows you 50, we don't. So we grow some pretty big moose, and we're booking those moose hunts. We're more than half booked for 2025 already. So it's been a big draw in our combination hunts with moose as a specialty. On the other hand, now we've got brown and grizzly bear there that, when I first came there in the late 70s, you had a 30% chance ever seeing one, and you were allowed to harvest 1 per hunter every 4 years. And we're now allowed to harvest 2 per hunter each year, and it's open year round. So that's been a good draw as well. Our caribou are phenomenal. The population's coming back gradually, but we're in a gene pool again that's excellent. We picked up a shed antler several years ago, and Jack Frost happened to be at the lodge and saw it, and he measured it, and he came back and he said, Steve, there's a record book for shed antlers. And he said, I think your caribou's the new world record.
Wow.
And we said, what? And he said, I'm going to come back out and measure it. And it'd been hanging in our, hunter's lodge for a couple of years by then. And he measured it. It's number 2 in the world record book of caribou antlers for barren ground caribou and sheds. So caribou are doing extremely well also. We're blessed to be in a good area with good critters.
Wow. How exciting. And what a trip to be able to go and see several different species and varieties of animals like that.
Yeah, most hunters are going to see all 5 species. That's going to be your moose, your caribou, your grizzly bear, grizzly browns, black bear, and Dall sheep on numerous times during their hunt. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to see a shootable ram the same day they see a big moose, but they're going to see all 5 species numerous times throughout their trip, and quite often all on the same day. So it just keeps your interest peaked, and know you're in an area where there's the animals you're hunting are there.
That's amazing. I know right now we have the giant raffle going on that we're so glad that you're part of. And that's one of the things when you tell people about the raffle, they can't believe how huge it is, and they're like, okay, so the Rainy Pass raffle is for a Dall sheep, a brown bear, a caribou, and a black bear. Do you think you? And people ask, they're like, is there a chance of seeing them all? And so now to hear that oh yeah, you've got a chance of seeing them all, potentially all in the same day. Now getting shots, that's a different thing, but just to be in an area that has that kind of diversity is something special.
You bet. And I always tell people, it's hunting, it's not shopping. And your number one enemy in Alaska is weather. So I tell all my prospective clients that, we've had people take all 5 species on one hunt, and we've had people go home empty handed. That's hunting. But to just know that you've got a good chance of seeing all 5 species in one day, at least lets you know you're in an area that's got the critters you're after. And that just to me makes it exciting.
That's, so some people, if you shoot all 5 of those species on one hunt, some people would call that a good hunt. Some people would call that a good decade.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And, it was just 2 years ago that, one of your Pope and Young members came up and shot, his brown bear, and he happens to be a person that has killed all 5 in the Pope and Young record book. And he improved on his brown bear. He shot it the first day at 17 yards, and he improved on his moose, and he shot that a little later in his hunt, all with a bow. That's a golden hunt, no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, one of the things that we just started asking just a couple of episodes ago, we have one question we ask everybody, but another question that we just started asking because of this raffle. And so I can't wait to hear what you say because one of your hunts is in this thing. So if you were to win this raffle, and man, whoever wins it is going to be on cloud 9 until they realize that now they have to pick from 4 of the best trips they'll ever have an option at. So, Steve, I want to hear from you, and Denise, I want to hear from you too. You can pick a different one if you want. So now you have your choice. You're the winner of this raffle. You get to pick between these 4. Number 1, a Yukon moose with McMillan River. Number 2 is a mountain goat brown bear combo with Peter Barella. Number 3 is with Mochweir in Africa, is a lion, Cape buffalo, crocodile, sable, lioness combo. And then the 4th option is a Dall sheep, a brown bear, a caribou, and a black bear at Perrins Rainy Pass Lodge. How do you choose between those 4? And what would you pick?
I know 3 of those outfitters personally that you've named, and you have got just a top-notch selection. That is going to be a tough one. I think, man, I'd have to put the cards on the wall and throw a dart.
I'm telling you, I don't know how you would. I feel sorry for who has to pick between those 4 because there's not a bad trip. They're all just phenomenal.
I do
trips.
hope I do hope whoever wins this is at convention and they say, let's throw some darts, because that would be awesome. You just gave some inspiration there, Steve.
That's for sure. The easiest thing they can do right now is buy a bunch of tickets, because the hard work starts when they get their name drawn. I truly would. I think I'd have to put the names on a wall and throw a dart. That's a good selection.
Yeah. Denise, which one would you do?
Put me on the spot.
I will too.
Well, I would definitely come to my lodge if I didn't own it, but I would probably take the African hunt.
Yeah, there's not a bad trip on that list, and
I know
you look on it, and it's because I think Dylan asked me last time, and honestly, I look at it, and that Africa one has a lot of draw because it's stuff that you just don't see anywhere else. And then I look at it, and I'm like, you guys are so friendly that I can't imagine not wanting to be in camp at the Rainy Pass Lodge. I mean, it's just, we've worked together for several years now, and, I've become friends, and it's just, those would be my top two. I wouldn't have to throw a dart. I might have to get it to those two and then flip a coin. And part of that is because I think you don't have to chase Cape buffalo in the mountains. I'm not 100% sure I'm a sheep hunter. I hear all the stories about sheep hunting, and some of them don't sound much fun.
Horses. We have great horses for horseback hunts, great accommodations and guides, and of course the food is outstanding. So. I know the cook personally.
Yeah, that's so great. No, we are so excited because this is just one of those things where, we've had some great hunts in the past that we've offered on raffles, and really special hunts, but we've never had anything like this, and we just really couldn't do it without outfitter partners like you guys. And so we appreciate that. We try to encourage, if you're looking at a hunt for any of those species, we have the top outfitters in the world. We're not looking for second and third tier outfitters. We want the best, and we've got them. And so if you're looking at any of these animals, you owe it to yourself to check it out. And you have, Steve, how do they find you if they want to go check out this hunt and get some raffle tickets and learn about it? What's the best way for them to find you?
Best way is to get to our website, and we just put up a brand new website, launched it here, actually at Dallas Safari Club a week or 10 days ago. So the Perrins Rainy Pass Lodge.com. And just to make it easy, if they just Google Rainy Pass Lodge, it's going to come up. And, check out our schedule of hunts. And then, of course, always can give me a call at our, my cell, 907-230-6093. We travel a lot. We live at our lodge 6 months of the year. So email and the website is the best way to probably, get hold of us. We're fortunate, as my son Steve and his wife Carly are the next generation, and grandkids behind them. So Steve and Carly will be taking over more of this, as Denise and I try to, relax a little bit more, but we're not ready to go anywhere quick. So they get to deal with the whole family, which is just a big part of our business, the family business.
You bet. And it's, we'll check it out. We'll get that link up so if you're watching this via YouTube or video, we'll have that link up on here for you.
So they just go to Pope and Young and buy their ticket. They can go right to our link and see what they're going to win.
Good. And it's also, we have a hot link in our outfitters section on our website too. So you can go to the outfitters page with your outfitters link, which is on the top of our very first page. Go to Perrins Rainy Pass Lodge, and there's a hot link directly from there as well. So now,
they just need to all plan to be in Reno and come out and meet us and watch their name get drawn out of that barrel.
Oh man, that's legitimately a dream. That would be a dream to win something like that. I hope they're there. I mean, you don't have to be present to win, but it would be neat if somebody was there in the room, because I mean, holy smokes.
That's sure.
Yeah. So tell us about, so we talked a little bit about the hunting, and now how did you get started with the bow hunting? Because I know you guys take a lot of bow hunters. You're considered among the best at the archery game. How did you get started with that aspect?
I met Jack Frost shortly after I came to Alaska, and I was just a young kid, and probably he didn't recall it the way I did, but he's an icon in the archery world, and kind of a rock star. And I met him through a Safari Club meeting up there, or at a dinner or something, and kept in touch. When we bought the lodge in 2003, he'd been tracking us, and he reached out, picked up the phone, and called me and said, I'm always looking for an excuse to go flying, Steve, and I understand you got a bunch of horses up there, and I need an excuse to fly. So how about you bring some horse feed over to my house, and I'll fly it out to the lodge over the summer. And, we were living on a shoestring back then, and needed all the help we could get. And, we like to think we've got, the world-class hunting lodge in Alaska, but it took a lot of people over the years to help us get to where we're at. And we don't forget that easily. Jack never asked for anything in return, wouldn't even take gas money from us. And I finally said, Jack, if you don't at least come over and spend a night or, have a meal with us, I just can't keep doing this. And eventually Jack spent a little more time there and started introducing us more and more to archery, and, gave me some pointers and shooting in his basement in Anchorage, and taught us a bit more. And then we finally realized, hey, the one way we could give back that Jack would be okay with was to donate to Pope and Young and help perpetuate, the sport that he loves so much and believes in. So that's how we got started with Pope and Young, and he got the word out about our facility through that. And, we've been fortunate to spend a lot of time with some great bow hunters ever since. I think last year we had a tough year on moose with not winter kill, but winter snow growing antlers a little bit less than we wanted. We had to work a lot harder to get them. And one of our monumental moments was a guy with a recurve shooting a 63 or 64 inch bull at 12 yards.
Wow.
With a recurve. And I mean, it's just the picture of this guy standing behind that moose before he got his shot at 12 yards was phenomenal.
Huh.
I've seen a lot of things over the years hunting wise, and I can tell you I wasn't the guide on that hunt, but that was a monumental moment for that guy that he'll never forget the rest of his life. And so archery hunting just brings you to a whole closer proximity to your prey, and really enjoying and experiencing the hunt as an overall. On the same token, you're going to have opportunities that are missed because you're hunting with a bow, and that's something that they all come knowing, and it just adds to the trip.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think when you accept that you're chasing them with a bow and arrow instead of a rifle, I think you inherently just accept the fact that you could get close and not get it done. And that's hard for a lot of people. That's hard. If you didn't grow up that way, it's a little bit different.
Absolutely. And for any of your listeners, wondering, I mean, we don't restrict you to a bow on this drawing, but I will tell you that if you bring the rifle, you're probably going to not do what you really want to do, and that's shoot it with a bow. So you've got the options, but this is a great opportunity, for a bow hunter to be able to get in on, the potential of these big five, North American species.
Yeah. That's just so here's the other is we'll just throw this out now. If you don't win the raffle, and before I talk about that, let me just thank you once again, because you are one of the outfitters that when I started, and I've been in the events and auctions game for a long time. And when we first started, Rainy Pass was doing a full brown bear. I mean, I think it included the taxidermy. I think it was a brown bear, black bear combo, included the taxidermy, full donation. You guys have been so good to the organization and helping support bow hunting for a number of years. And I just want to thank you for that. Every time we come to you and say, hey, can we do this? You're always there to help us find a way to get it done. And that's invaluable to the organization. So thank you so much for that.
No, you're welcome. I appreciate it. I think every outfitter needs to realize that we all have to give back, and we got to pick where we give. And we just believe in what Pope and Young's doing. So it's one of our top locations to have the opportunity to give back. So thank you for that.
So we're so excited about the raffle that sometimes we forget some of the other things. We also have, and I'm excited because I think this is the first time we've dropped this. I don't think anybody else knows this is coming to convention. It's very similar to the raffle hunt with one addition. So the raffle hunt is Dall sheep, brown bear, caribou, black bear combo. We have coming up on our auction, and will be available on Saturday, the daytime auction. We have a Dall sheep, brown bear, black bear, caribou combo hunt that you can also add a moose to for the trophy fee. Literally all 5 species at one time, which I can't even imagine. I can't imagine going on a hunt where you have that kind of potential or possibility. But wow. So if anybody's interested, buy your tickets. If you don't win it, you can buy it. So, or if you want, you were to buy that trip during the auction Saturday and then win that trip at the raffle that night, you know what? Dylan and I will fly up there and do a live podcast from the camp for anybody
that'd be awesome. Wouldn't that be exciting?
That would be cool.
So pretty exciting opportunities. And once again, I have to throw some thanks out because what we get to do at convention and even now on off convention years, because of our outfitter partners is just, it allows us to go jump in on projects all over the place that have a lasting effect for not only wildlife populations, but for bow hunting opportunities. We just partnered up with the Wild Sheep Foundation. We're doing some studies in the Pacific Northwest on some disease research that could affect basically sheep and ungulate populations all over the country. So pretty excited about the partnership there and what that could mean for wildlife populations all across North America.
Now that I didn't realize your partnership with them, and that is a great thing. We just had some sheep surveys done in our lodge. Sheep are certainly fragile in a lot of parts of Alaska, so another reason to get in on this hunt sooner than later. Your thing about conservation just brings me to a point. I'm going to plug ourselves a little bit. We just launched a new website with a membership portal where you can actually become a member of Rainy Pass Lodge's special website with a monthly exclusive on there. But it also gives you an opportunity through your membership. We're going to draw a name each year for a $10,000 credit to any hunt or trip at Rainy Pass Lodge. But my point is that 10% of that money from this membership website is going to go to conservation, and 10% will go to charities of our choice. And we'll post those charities on there. We've got that youth camp as well as Pope and Young and others that we do. So to plug ourselves so that they can, again, be given more back to conservation and all, they might want to check out that new website portal.
Absolutely. I'll be checking it out. Now,
It's a $10,000 drawing to any trip we do. It's a great opportunity to add to it, and we'll draw that in December. So anybody that wins this trip or buys a trip at auction, it's a good way to get in on another $10,000 off.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I was looking at it and I was thinking about just buying it because I can't put in for the actual raffle because I work at Pope and Young. So I was like, I'll just go buy the trip. But apparently Pope and Young does not take IOUs, but they do take cash, check, or any major credit card. So
You bet. Sorry about that.
Now, Steve, you've hunted all over the place. You've done quite a bit, and I've had some. If you had to say what is guiding up there in what is truly the frontier, what is a story like? Have you had some? If you had to just pick one story that was just like, that was just a surreal experience or just something that was out of the ordinary, what would you have to pick?
Wow. That's a tough one. I would say probably, and it wasn't at Rainy Pass Lodge because we operate on Kodiak Island and have since 1981 for big bears and some goat, some deer. But all my hunting experience with bears had been with a rifle, or occasionally a pistol, and mostly with a rifle. Up until I had a client from New Hampshire that contacted me, knew me in high school, and said he wanted to come to Alaska and do a Kodiak bear hunt with a bow and arrow. And I thought, well, that's a pretty tall order. He's a big bears, and this is the guy who'd only shot whitetail deer in New Hampshire before. And he came on that trip, and I was meeting with him. I went to school with his sister from second grade on, and didn't know him very well, but I was meeting with him and I started telling him about future hunts. And after his hunt, he told me, he said, I'm sitting there thinking, you don't understand. This is a once in a lifetime trip for me. And then he thought, man, I better play along. Maybe it'll get me a better hunt if this guy thinks I might be coming back someday for going to Rainy Pass. And of course, fast forward, he's been hunting with us, I don't know, 5 or 6 times after that. He actually, got his Alaska guide license and helped out on a couple moose hunts. But I go back to his bear hunt on Kodiak, and we ended up at 21 yards from a 10-foot bear with a bow and arrow, and he arrowed this bear, and unfortunately, his shot was just a little bit back, which was a killing shot. But he made the decision that he didn't want to lose the bear, which I give him credit for. And I call it a mistake. I made a mistake of putting a rifle in front of him just in case. And I had a guy filming the whole thing who was a guide. So that guide put the rifle in front of the hunter. And the hunter said, shoot, I shot too far back. And I didn't shoot because there was 200 yards of wide open country. And I figured, you know what? This bear's got a chance still that he could die. And the hunter picked up the rifle and shot. Anyway, long story short, he wouldn't let me open the bear because he didn't want to know exactly where the placement was. And this bear missed the world record by 3/16 of an inch if we hadn't put a bullet in it. Wow. In the record book. That was the closest, not being on a wounded bear in the brush, type of thing. That was the closest live animal, big bear that I'd ever stalked with a bow and arrow at 21 yards at the time. And I'll never forget it because it was monumental. Bow hunters are used to getting very close to their prey, and it really opened up, my appreciation for what these guys that have hunted all North American species and other continents with a bow. But I never forgot that. And since then I've had a bear taken at 17 yards, had a bear taken at 8 yards out of a brown bear out of a stand, had goats taken at 17 yards and other critters. But that being the first one, I've never forgot. I remember it I remember the hair on the back of my head going up when that bear turned the corner.
That's
At that distance.
That's crazy. I was, if you had asked me 10 years ago before I came to PNY, if I would have ever wanted to chase brown bears with a bow, it would have been an emphatic no, thank you. Because it just wasn't something that I had, thought about. And then you're around these guys. I was at a table, I was at Omaha. And so I was sitting there, and I think several of the people at that table put their trips off to go spring bear hunting to come to convention that year. And I remember sitting there, I think I know Alan Bolin was there. He was leaving literally to go bear hunting. Brendan Burns from Kuyu, he was on his way to a bear hunt. Don Trump Jr. was on his way to a bear hunt. And I was looking at that, and I'm just like, wow. And some of these guys were going, Alan, he was going, he's like, I'm not shooting with anything but a bow. Same thing with Brendan. He's just, it really opens your mind up to what could be. And now I've got to say, I still don't know. That's close. 20 yards from a creature that big is close.
It is. It gets your attention, and that's an animal that can outrun a horse in a short race. So you realize, what you're doing there is it's all crucial, and yet it's super exciting. So
yeah. It's if you've ever been close to anything big and you think your rifle's not big enough, and then you start looking at your bow, you're like, But kudos to the hunters and the guides that are out there getting it done, because every year you see it and it's impressive.
No, that's for sure. Well, You mentioned you got Pete Barella in your sweepstakes again this year. Pete's a great guy. I'm also operating with the big brown bear as well. I'm just amazed at the lineup, that you've got. Like you said earlier, it's going to be a tough choice on this sweepstakes, and yet they could come to convention and meet all those folks and book those hunts as well.
Yeah, I think as of right now, everybody, things could change, especially, in today's day and age. Years ago, we didn't realize how good we had it, and COVID has taught us that nothing's for sure. But as of right now, I believe all of our outfitters for that raffle are going to be at convention with booths. So come in, buy some tickets, buy some hunts. We've done a couple of giveaways where if you buy your convention packs during our special run, you get some big bucks that can be used to book hunts too. So we're looking forward to a very good convention, and I can't wait.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut over you. We are as well. It's just a great chance to get back and see all your friends from the hunting world gathered in one location and excited about their industry.
Yeah. So, Steve, one other question is, when you find yourself out, whether you're chasing brown bears or doll sheep or whatever you find yourself chasing up there, what is one item, kind of a non-traditional item, that you take with you on every hunt?
Wow. That's a tough one. I've got my standard stuff. My backpack's always packed and ready to go. And, we train all of our own guides, and I had some neat moments when my kids were out on their earlier hunts guiding, and, remembering them getting, somebody cut themselves bad, and they immediately went right to their pack. In the top right pouch is my, butterfly Band-Aids. And I think back to that, and I said, how did you do that? He said, Dad, I just watched what you packed and how you did it, and paper towels and why you did it. And so that's where I put my stuff. And I think that's been kind of a key factor for us, is that we train all our own guides so they do it the way, our clients and we like done. So there's probably a bunch of little things in that pack, but they're duplicated with our team. And I say our team, I don't like to think of folks as our staff as much as we've just put a real good team together. Did I lose you?
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's it. So kind of just having first aid kit. I think that's first time. I think everybody should have that, but that might be the first time it's come up. Have we had that one before, Dylan?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
It's like anything. If you got it, you won't use it very often, but if you don't have it, you're going to need it. And, my wife was just chiming in. I always tell people my number one piece of equipment is my binoculars, and I can borrow my client's rifle if I need to go in after a wounded bear, but man, if I don't have my binoculars, we're not going to see the critters we're looking for. And, so good optics are extremely important, but, always having that backup of that safety there, everybody's safety is number one.
Yeah, no, that's good. That makes sense. And like, that's one of those things that you hope you never need, but if you need it, you're glad you have it.
You bet.
Now, if you had to pick a bucket list hunt for you personally, what would it be?
I've been fortunate to go on a couple of really good hunts to Africa. And now as I'm moving up in years, there's three or four things that have been on my radar. A fellow guide of mine, we were just talking, one of the recent shows, and, he'd done his elephant. A lot of people aren't, too excited about elephant, but I've kind of got excited about them, at least in places like Botswana where there's some overabundance. Sheep have been a big one for me, and I know that my sheep hunting days are more behind me than they are ahead of me, but that's what keeps you alive and going. And when you look at some of these, guys like Jack Frost and that they're still out there doing it, it makes you realize you need to just keep staying out there and doing it. Marco Polo's been a huge one for me. And you mentioned the lion hunt. I'll tell you, the lion's another one that's going to go away. And so those three things right now are pretty high on my, what do I want to do next, big game hunt, agenda. I am going on some different big game in Argentina this year, right after convention. In fact, I leave the day after convention for Argentina with a couple of other guys, but that's nowhere near the radar that either elephant, lion, or Marco Polo, or even the bighorn, desert bighorn's one of my go-to. There's so many good things to do out there, and it's like anything, you just got to keep dream building and pulling the trigger, or releasing the arrow, as we say at Pope and Young.
Absolutely. And that's you mentioned it earlier, it seems like I know for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, if next year ever gets here, it's going to be the epic year of like hunting 329 days out of 365. Because I think so many people are like, oh, next year I'm going to do that. Next year I'm going to do that. Next year I'm going to do that. Well, pretty soon you've got 22 years of next year stacked up. And, there's some folks that aren't going to get next year. So now is the time.
Yeah. And I think everybody needs to go to convention with the idea that they're not going to leave there without having booked something. I mean, because you're right. Next year disappears quickly, and then it's next year and it's next year. And we see folks like that every year at convention, and, it's on their dream list. Well, we don't know when our number's up. So every year, Denise and I go to convention, we kind of pick, hey, what are we looking to book this year? And, you just got to do it, because the money's going to go somewhere anyway throughout the year. And I'd rather be saying, gee, we really wanted to put that, fire pit in the backyard, but you know what? I'm sure glad I went to Alaska hunting instead.
Yeah.
I wish I could get my wife to think like that. That would be nice. That'd be awfully nice.
I'll put a plug in for you, Dylan.
I appreciate it.
It's that's it's one of those things, and you mentioned it earlier with the guy who came up and he says, man, this is a once in a lifetime thing. It's the only time I'll ever get to do it. And now he's been up there several times. I think you have that when you look at these big trips, you have that. You're like, oh, this will be the only time I get to do it. But it becomes so special that you find a way to do it again.
Your priorities change too when you do that. You realize that when you're out in nature and on one of these big hunts, and I want to also let you know that we have a lot more guys bringing their wives to our lodge because the accommodations and the comforts there. When you can share that opportunity with each other instead of, sitting at home texting or, being involved in the everyday day-to-day stuff, that little 2 weeks out of your life really cements, relationships and your perspective on everything else you do. Makes you a better worker when you get home, makes you a better husband, a better dad, a better mom. And I think, and I know it certainly has always, stayed with us when we go on any trip like that we just come back better.
So that's the stance I take. If you let me hunt in Alaska, I'll be a better husband.
There you go.
And a better mom.
You, Dylan, I will guarantee your wife, if she lets you come to Alaska hunting, you're going to go home a better husband.
All right. I'm going to tell her.
You heard it here first.
I can give her some references of guys that have gone home, and I can give you references that their wives have called us and said, hey, my husband can come back anytime he wants to because he's a different man now. And I promise you, we've heard that.
Yeah.
So if you're tired of throwing money away on a counselor, here is the best way to become that husband or wife or father or mom that you want to be. Use Book a Hunt.
We won't charge you the counseling fee.
So, well, Steve, I know you went way out of your way today to join us on the podcast. We appreciate that. And we wish you well on your travels. We cannot wait to see you in Reno. It is going to be one heck of a party and a great time, and we're working every day. I can assure you this entire staff is working tirelessly to make this convention special. So couldn't do it without our partners. We appreciate you and can't wait to see you there.
Thanks for all you do at Pope and Young. We appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Denise. Well, you guys travel safe.
Stay safe. You do, you as well. Stay safe, and we'll see you here in a couple short months.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Jason. Give our best to Heather.